And but yeah, we're busy. Massachusetts, surprisingly, is the sixth busiest state in the country um, in terms of funerals for the Army. Yeah, it's so I guess we're right up there with California, New York, Texas, Florida. We have a lot of veterans in the state, more than I thought, and we handle about 4,600 funerals a year. Yeah,
Wow.
so
I just realized we hit the time here. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us tonight. This is Jeff McCormick. We have my running mate Tracy Post, candidate for lieutenant governor. We have Matt Cassie calling in from Agawam, which is in the Springfield area, and Joe Fitzpatrick. We were just talking about. He has served us in Afghanistan and Iraq. Joe, again, thank you very much for your service. It is appreciated from all of us. And we're going to talk tonight about the gubernatorial race for governor in Massachusetts this year. As I think everyone on this Hangout knows, that Tracy and I are running as independents, which means essentially that we believe we can take the best of philosophies of both parties and also independent candidates, do the right thing for people, try and make the best decision for everyone in the Commonwealth versus what often happens, putting politics in front of people, which we don't think is really the right thing to do, or right place to go. So if we could, Matt, I'd love to hear what your perspective is. You might want to give a 30-second, where you are in life and kind of what your concerns are, and then Tracy and I will try and handle your question accordingly. One thing I will tell people, though, is Tracy and I travel throughout the Commonwealth. We like to listen to people. We like things to be conversational. We believe that great solutions happen, at the community level, that people who face the issues on a daily basis, who are constantly thinking, gee, how can we do this better? How can we enable people? And how can we create more opportunity for people? So, as you share with us your concerns, Matt and Joe, please also, as we have this dialogue, share with us your views on what you think, some of the solutions might be. So, Matt, why don't you get us kicked off if that works?
All right. Well, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me here. As he said, my name's Matt Cassie. I was born in Agawam, Mass. I just graduated from Syracuse University with a degree in political science. So, I'm looking for starting the job search, and my concern is, I guess, Western and Central Mass are home to a large population of college students, probably on par with the total population that are in the greater Boston area. And so, as a recent college graduate, it seems that most of the opportunities within the state are in that Boston area, even though there are so many college students who are still in Western Mass. So I'd like to know, what are your plans? What would you do as governor to reinvigorate the economies of this part of the state, thereby giving recent college grads the option to stay in places like Worcester, Springfield, Amherst, or Northampton?
Well, I think we need to look at, several different pieces of the puzzle here. One is just where are the jobs, right? And one of the things I think we need to do is look throughout the entire Commonwealth, look at what our resources are as far as intellectual resources, in your case, and say, why don't we have more higher growth companies in those regions? Now, some of the regions need to be kick-started. They need, whether we create enterprise zones that we say, essentially this place is a diamond in the rough. There are some terrific companies in every corner of this Commonwealth. So it's not like everything has to happen, within the Boston MSA. But you do have to nurture that. and you do tend to get pockets of expertise as well. In some industries, it's particularly hard to start it from scratch, like the biotech industry, for lots of reasons, including its very, very, technical nature. But we've seen what's happened to Cambridge over the last 25 years and the tremendous development there. That same kind of thing can happen in other regions throughout the Commonwealth. And when you think about one of the other things related to jobs is housing. When you just get out of school, housing is expensive. I mean, housing certainly in the Boston MSA is, and there's much more affordable housing in many areas of the Commonwealth. So instead of thinking that everyone has to connect into Boston for some reason, let's look at each individual area and not town by town, but think of it as regions, if you will, and say, how do we develop this region? How do we, attract growth companies there? How do we nurture entrepreneurs? I'm a small business investor, as you know. We grow companies. We've grown them in different parts of the Commonwealth, and we've grown them in other states, for that matter. And it's very, very important to me that you nurture small businesses in any way, shape, or form, which includes, making the regulatory processes as easy and as streamlined as possible. Again, have it be economically attractive, to get companies off the ground, and then success will beget success. There's no question in my mind. And I would love it if we could have a number of hubs of both innovation and also, businesses like manufacturing companies. Mm-hmm. Tracy, do you have any comments?
Well, I think, you hit a lot of the parts on a larger level. I think being a local selectman and working with these issues on a daily basis, and I'm on the Cape, so certainly I understand what you're saying outside of, Boston. We deal with it all the time here, and I think Jeff hit a lot of the good points, but really working with municipalities to find out what their needs are, because I think that every town has their own niche, for instance, and a lot of it has to do with zoning. And so, if we could look at the comprehensive zoning for the Commonwealth, which I know they're looking at now, which will help, allowing some density in areas for affordable housing for, younger folks like you. And so I think it's just working with each community, regional planning authorities, and trying to find what each community needs. And I think once you get the housing, and transportation is also another issue outside of the Beltway. Jeff spoke at a Moving Mass Forward forum last night, and they talk a lot about the transportation within the cities, but outside of the cities, we also have difficulties for younger people getting around. So it's really bringing all these pieces together and working with all the communities to try to make sure that we achieve their goals.
Yeah, man, in your generation of millennials, if you will, there seems to be a bias toward reurbanization, where people want bikeable, walkable cities. They want a healthier lifestyle. They don't necessarily want to own, 2 cars per family,
right,
et cetera, et cetera. And that is a function, as Tracy said, of housing density. So we really do have to rethink some of the regulations we have in place, and also as you know, there are transportation advantages once you do that, and there are also environmental advantages when you do that. That has a much friendlier carbon footprint, if you will, and we do think that the upcoming generation is very sensitive to all of that, and having built companies that actually affect some of these different areas, in education, for instance, and also in various environmental areas. We're particularly keen on this, and how all of this connects, and it is all connected too. We don't need just one policy. We need a policy that incorporates the whole picture. Joe, do you have any? Do you have a specific question or thought for us or comment? Joe, I think we lost your audio, or at least I can't hear you. Tracy, can you hear Joe?
No, I can hear you, but I can't hear him.
Okay.
I had one too many tabs open, and I was getting a lot of feedback, so I just figured that out. That would be helpful. When I was talking to you before answering the question, I was hearing the previous conversation. It was bizarre.
Oh.
So, good now, but I can't hear him. Oh, she's going to fix him.
One of the other things, while Joe is getting that taken care of, that did come out in this transportation forum, is that we have a tremendous amount of current infrastructure that needs to be taken care of, and how do you do that as well as do all the projects going forward, and kind of what should the priorities be? We need to remember that we got to make sure that all those businesses and communities that rely on today's infrastructure, that is attended to first, and then as we think on more of a proactive basis, have a plan, have a comprehensive plan of what we want to do, so that everything we do is, it has direction, that it's intentional, and that we don't assume there's going to be some kind of accidental success. Almost the way, companies are managed, or even small businesses have business plans. They know the road they're trying to go. Football teams have playbooks. I mean, we've really got to think through that playbook and not let, the Commonwealth go in 351 different directions because there's 351 municipalities. We've got to really bring people together to have a thoughtful strategy here, and a lot of it, again, is going to relate to job growth. How we doing, Joe? Joe, if you want to send your question in, we'll be happy to we'll be happy to kind of read that out loud, and then work with that. So Matt, as it relates to finding jobs in the Commonwealth, have you begun the search? Are you finding it to be difficult? Is there a lot out there? Are there a number of jobs? Because there are 135,000 job openings, right, but there aren't necessarily openings, for the skills of people that are looking for jobs. So there's a bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest issue, or like a big problem that is facing people in my generation, is finding the right job that matches your skill set. And there's also a lot of entry-level jobs today, it seems, that require more and more experience, and skills going in that it take time to acquire. But it's just a matter of taking the time to figure out what you're looking for. And I think we could be doing a better job. Recent students or graduates could be doing a better job identifying what their talents are, and reaching out to companies that match their skill set. But it's just difficult to find exactly the right fit.
One of the things I believe in education in general is that it's not just about mushing a bunch of factoids into your brain. It's really giving people the critical thinking skills that they need, and also helping educate them for jobs that have direction, and that includes vocational school training, that includes community colleges, four-year colleges and universities and beyond. That so when people get out, they know that there's an opportunity for them. And one of the things, Tracy, that you're certainly as well qualified to speak about is, with people like Joe that are returning military, what are the opportunities for them? And you might want to share a little bit about, your husband as well and what your experiences might have been.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of resources, so to say, out there for folks like Joe. But certainly, I think the military is an interesting animal in itself, where they are trained and they have so many skills to offer. But sometimes, yet, when they return, first of all, integrating back into regular life after some of the things that they've seen over there has been pretty horrific, and making sure that they get the medical services that they need, and that people are talking about those issues, because frankly, I think in years past, a lot of those issues, mental health issues, have been taboo, and unfortunately, they've hidden them for too long. And so I think we as a community need to start having that type of dialogue and talking about it, making them feel like it's okay to seek help for that. It doesn't make them any less macho. So that's the first thing. The second thing is they have so many life skills that they have to offer, but sometimes to them it doesn't really transfer into a particular job. So I know a lot of military people that come back that have a lot of skills, but they really don't know how to utilize those skills in a regular workplace. So, making sure that we provide them training or retraining so that they feel that they can enter the workforce properly, and find out how those skills that they've learned do translate into different work positions. Because, like I said, I've met several of them that don't feel like they're really trained or qualified for certain jobs after doing, a particular job. Joe, you're shaking your head. I'm not sure if that's the way you feel, but I can tell you from talking to so many of them, and my husband spent 20 years in the Army, and he got out. He was a military police officer, he was a recruiter for many years, and honestly, after 20 years of unbelievable skill that he had to offer, he really didn't know where to go from there, and that's a difficult position. So, making sure that they make that transition, that we're here to help them in every way we can, and also making sure all the services that are out there are working together. We have a lot of them that are out there working in silos, but making sure that Joe gets every resource that's available to him. I know that the state has done some programs trying to make sure that small businesses get tax incentives and such to put veterans back to work. I think those are all great programs, and we need to keep looking at it and make sure that we provide them every opportunity possible. Thank you.
By the way, if anyone would like to tweet a question in, feel free to do that. Some of the tweets that have come in, one is, why an independent and why now? And I think the answer to that, again, is to be first freed from special interests. That's important, to be able to make the best decision for everyone in the Commonwealth. The why now, really, if you look at it, we have the Democratic Party in this state that has a lot of different fiefdoms, if you will, and it doesn't seem like they're really getting to the root of a number of problems. The problems that we're talking about here, the problems with focusing on improving our public education system. We like to wave our finger around and say we're number one in the country, and yet 37% of our third graders are not proficient in reading. I mean, to me, that's just unacceptable. The high school dropout rate is far too high. I believe. We've got to come up with a real energy policy and strategy. We've got the fifth highest energy cost in the United States, and that, of course, makes it very, very difficult to either establish or grow manufacturing companies, among others. Plus, there's just the the general expense to the consumers like you and I. So it's we do think the time is now that we have to focus on some of these these problems and longer term issues, because they're not going to get easier, they're not going to get better, and the last thing in the world we want to do is get into a downward spiral and not take advantage of what the Commonwealth has to offer. So Tracy, one of the questions someone sent in is more of a general one. How's the campaign going? What's on tap, and what should we expect next?
Well, expect the unexpected. No, the campaign I think is going great. I'm proud to be on it. I think I want everyone to see the Jeff that I see, and see the kind of guy he is. I really believe in you, and I believe that you're what Massachusetts needs. So with that energy, I think we're going around and doing the best we can, talking to people and working hard, and I'm just glad to be on the team, and I hope as things go along, the momentum gains, and people really do believe that there's an opportunity for an independent here. I think, to answer the first question too, you touched on it a lot. I've always been an independent. I believe that, unfortunately, when people get elected, they've gotten so much money from people in the party that they owe back when they get there, that they don't really do what's right for the people. They do what's right for the party. And I think to have somebody in there that doesn't have those constraints to really look at issues and look at solving issues and working with whoever it is to get those issues solved is really what we need. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about where the campaign's going to take us, and I hope I answered your question.
Speaking of joining the team, by the way, we obviously welcome volunteers. We're building up our network throughout the Commonwealth. We are in the process of collecting the 10,000 signatures, for instance, and would love help in doing that. People do like hearing the message. People do like knowing that there are people like Tracy and me out there, working hard for them, willing to make tremendous personal sacrifice, and it's our way of paying it forward. And I got to tell everyone, as a quick commercial for Tracy, she is as much of a common heart and common mind, and is the do the right thing kind of woman. So I'm proud to be part of this ticket. And as I said, we want to listen to people as much as possible. And if you are interested, go to jmacforgov.org. We'd love to hear from you, as volunteers, to become a part of this, and we think it's going to continue to turn into a bit of a movement.
I hope so. Joe, do you see Jeff has Allison? Is that you there with Joe? They asked a question here on the side. I don't know if you can see it. She's a teacher in Stoughton. Her question is, with all the changes happening in education, from Common Core to Park, it's becoming increasingly difficult for teachers to implement everything, having very little training at all these changes. What will you do to reach out to help teachers moving forward?
Thanks for reading that. First, so everyone listening is aware of this. The number one reason students are successful in public schools is effective teachers. So we have to realize that it's not all about technologies, it's not about schools and books, it's about great teachers. And that all of these mandates that she asks about, including the some of these unfunded mandates from the federal government, they become more and more burdensome on teachers. And one of the things I believe we need to do, and I know this sounds kind of trite, is we need to let teachers teach. I understand the reason for standards, and why we want to make sure that everyone has a high bar, but there is a certain point that we have to say, you know what, we've got to let teachers, use their, their energy and their experience and their creativity to do the best job they can. This gets back to my philosophy and Tracy's as well of, allowing communities to understand what is best for them. Now, again, with the caveat that they are achieving, appropriate results. And we do think that that there are an awful lot of mandates, a lot of compliance put on teachers right now, and I honestly also think that teachers need additional training because there are new technologies. I mean, we have a company that does this in the area of math. It's a great tool. Teachers love it. Their students do so much better, but you still have to work with the teachers to make sure that they can use the power of the tool now at their fingertips. And with that one particular software company, we literally teach millions of kids. It's math remediation software in 41 different states. So that's terrific. It just helps them be better at their jobs, and they want to be great at their jobs. They want to put out amazing students. So technology we do think is helpful going forward, but it's certainly not the only answer.
Yeah, Jeff, if I could just speak to that for a second. I just wanted to say, you're letting teachers teach. That's really, you hit the nail on the head. Because when I was in high school, some of my favorite teachers and the best teachers that I had were the ones who didn't teach straight from the book or just didn't teach the curriculum. They're the ones who thought outside the box and really, made you think, okay, how is this applicable outside the classroom? How can I use this in real life? Those are the ones who inspire you, and I think that's really important going forward as well.
Tracy?
Very well said, Matt. No, very well said. I think we grew up in a totally different time where they had that flexibility, and we learned how to balance a checkbook and basic life skills that are so important that are really lacking with some of the kids now. But to Allison's point, making sure that the federal government and the state work with communities and fund their mandates so that the teachers have the ability for professional development to learn these upcoming things. I know, the park, converting over to park is, there's a lot of professional development in making sure that all your things are lined up to be able to do that appropriately. And, with the ever-crunching budget, it's really hard to get that professional development time. So I just generally think the state should be helping fund education and the mandates that they're putting on the teachers.
Allison, again, that's a terrific question, and I appreciate your bringing it up because education just feeds into everything else. So it's critically important. We need to get it right, and you will hear continuously from Tracy and me that we are very, very supportive of education at all levels, including early childhood education, by the way, because that's a key, that's a ticket out. So thank you everyone for joining this. I again would appreciate it if people go to the website jmacforgov.org or Google Jeff McCormick for Governor. Thanks for those who have volunteered because of the past calls. We'll be continuing to do these at least monthly. And again, thank you very, very much for your participation for those of you in this particular Hangout. Have a great night.
I just want to say nice to meet you both, and I wish you both the most, all three of you, much success. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.